Module 5, Assignment 2. Let's do some review. A recipe asks for 4/5 cup of cereal. How much cereal is needed to make 3/2 cup of cereal in this recipe? Let's find out. This is actually a multiplication problem. We're being asked how much of. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our first fraction, 4/5, and the of tells us to multiply it by the 3/2. When we multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators for a new numerator. 12, 4 times 3 is 12. And then we multiply the denominators for a new denominator. 5 times 2 is 10. Although this is a correct answer, we do want to simplify in this case. So we can actually divide this fraction by a fraction equal to 1 to simplify it. We want to look for a number that will go into both the numerator and the denominator. 2 over 2 equals 1, and we'll divide evenly into 12 and to 10. So 12 divided by 2 equals 6, and 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So the answer is 6/5 cups of cereal is needed to make this recipe. "42 times 5 and 9/35. When we have a whole number with a fraction, it's called a mixed number. Very often we'll want to make that into a fraction itself so we can work with the rest of the problem. In this case, we want to take the whole number 42 and place it over 1 to make it a fraction. So 42 over 1. And then we still need to multiply it by our 5 and 9/35. But what we need to do is do the big C. The big C helps us turn 5 and 9/35 into an equivalent fraction. But it's an improper fraction. It'll have a top that is bigger than its bottom. The denominator stays the same, so we're just going to slide that 35 over. And then we're going to multiply 35 times 5. We're going to add it to 9 and then place it as our new numerator. So now we're going to take 35 and multiply it times 5, which gives us 175. Then we add it to 9, which gives us 184 over 35. And now we multiply our tops for a new numerator. 42 times 184 equals 7,728. And we multiply our denominators for a new denominator. 1 times 35 is 35. Now we can actually simplify our fraction of 7,728 and 35 by dividing by a fraction equal to 1 that will go in both the numerator and the denominator. That happens to be 7 over 7. So 7,728 divided by 7 is 1,104, and 35 divided by 7 is 5. So our final answer is 1,104 fifths. Negative 4/3 k equals negative 12. I do believe that negative is supposed to be over here. There we go. Okay. What we need to do is find a way to isolate k. K is our variable. And the first thing we want to do is identify that and isolate that. And the second way is to isolate it. And we have to look at this fraction, negative 4/3, and we need to take its reciprocal and multiply it by its reciprocal on both sides. Okay, so when we multiply 3 times 4 and 4 times 3, we end up with 12 over 12, which equals 1, and cancels out. So these actually cancel each other out, and we just bring our variable k straight down. We bring our equal sign down. We still have our negative 12, which we're going to put over a 1. We can place any whole number over a 1 to make it a fraction. And then we're going to multiply it by our negative 3/4. Okay, so k equals 12 times 3. A negative times a negative is a positive, which is a 36. And 1 times 4, which is 4. And 36 divided by, because that fraction bar always means divided by 4, equals an even 9. We could also simplify this fraction, but simplifying and reducing 36 divided by 4 equals 9 is our answer. So k equals 9. Use 1 year to equal 365 days. Okay, so we've got a fact here, and this fact is just going to help us solve the problem. A family eats 658.7 pounds of fruit and vegetables in 1 year's time. How much do they eat in 1 day? So what we're looking at is trying to find 1 day. That's our question right here. What is our question? How much do they eat in 1 day? So we know a smooth way to solve this problem would be a proportion. So that would tell us that the family eats 658.7 pounds of food in 365 days, or 1 year. All right, and that's going to be equal or equivalent to how much does our family eat in 1 day. And again, we're looking at the family eats, how much they eat, over the time they eat it in. And what we want to do is solve for this question here. So this is just what our fractions are like. 658.7 pounds of food and 365. That's our time. It equals, we don't know how much they eat of that in 1 day. So we can actually cross multiply. This fraction is supposed to be equivalent to this fraction. So we can cross multiply and solve for our question. So we'll start with 365 times our question mark. And then we'll bring down our equal sign. And then we'll come over here and we'll go 658.7 times 1. 658.7 times 1, which just equals 658.7. And now to get that question mark all alone, we have to divide both sides by 365, which will give us our answer of how much does this family eat in 1 day. So 658.7 divided by 365 equals 1.8046. 1.8046. 1.8046. And usually we can round off to a decimal of 2 plus our decimal. So we can go that this family eats 1.8 pounds of food in one day. An inspector examines 300 bulbs and found 17 to be defective. At this rate, how many light bulbs would be defective? In a lot of 33,000. What we need to do is set up a proportion. We need to have defective light bulbs. Okay, so we got our defective light bulbs here. These ones are broken over our whole lot of light bulbs. Okay, so these light bulbs are not broken. And we'll set a proportion up exactly like that and equal. So defective light bulbs, there was 17 over the total, which was 300. Set equal to, we don't know how many defective light bulbs will be in 33,000. When we do a proportion, we crisscross solve for our missing variable because we have two fractions that are set equal to themselves. So we need to know what would be multiplied by this one to get 33,000, and that would be 100. And what would be multiplied by this one to get 17 to be equivalent over here? And it would probably be 100 too, but we can also solve by crisscrossing. So let's try it this way, and we'll solve for the question mark. 300 what equals 17 times 33,000. Okay, and we've got 17 times 33,000, and that equals 561,000. Oops, let's make sure we make that's a comma. And 300 question mark. So now we need to divide both sides by 300 so we get that question mark all alone. And that gives us 1,870. 1,870 what? Well, it gives us 1,870 defective light bulbs out of 33,000 light bulbs. Hope that helps.